Hello, YouTube. How's it going? What did you do today? Today I worked from home as usual. I wrote the reports, and now I'm kind of taking the role of editor of the team of a good chunk of our team's work now. So I spent some time looking at a coworker's piece of work with them, and then we're in the middle of a meeting and we just had a big power outage, and they were like, "Okay, where is she?" And apparently they asked all my colleagues for my phone number to make sure I was okay, but no one had my phone number. But it was okay because I just joined like half an hour later and then we finished his paper. So it was good. I see I have friends here already. Hi, Lisa, Anastasia, Mr. Ranger Lab, and Coconuts. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Today I'm excited to do the first Beachbody video, that reaction video that I've done in a while. I'm starting to feel again like I am in a bit of a YouTube rut, not knowing what exactly I will enjoy doing, like what kinds of topics. And so I think I really like doing Beachbody and Amway reaction stuff back in the day, like over a year ago. And so maybe I'll like doing that. Maybe I'll try that and see if that's more enjoyable. I've just been struggling to like think of things to talk about on my channel. I was creative for a bit, but I'm kind of like lost on what to talk about. So we're going to try this again. We're going to try this approach and see if I enjoy it as much as I did back like a year ago. I don't know. When was I doing constant Beachbody and Amway stuff? I feel like it was me over a year ago, but I'm not sure. If you are on here, you would see my trigger warning. So if you think that any conversation on dieting, trauma, death in the family may upset you in any way, then this is not the stream to watch. It is a quick conversation, but just like if you think that could upset you at all, just skip the stream and that's no problem. Oh, hey, I've got Callie on my computer and y'all on my phone. Awesome. There's a motorcycle being revved outside. So, Tanya, I don't know if you heard of my trigger warning. Trigger warning, talk about death, trauma, dieting. If that kind of topic may not be fun for you today, then feel free to skip this video. Okay, I'm ready. This is Kim Fitzpatrick of BODi talking to CEO of Beachbody, Carl Deichler.
I was actually sitting right in this space. Our daughter came down and she said, "Mommy, Daddy's on the floor." So I was like, "Is he joking?" Thinking he's joking, right? And I said, "Mommy, no, something's wrong. You got to come right now." I'll never forget, Carl.
And I have it sped up because if I don't, I'm not going to get through this whole thing tonight. But let me know if it's too fast. I have them at 1.4 speed because even at 1.4 speed, Carl sounds slow, but Kim does speak a little bit faster than he does. Okay, good that you heard it. Thank you. And yeah, it's brief, Tanya, but bow out anytime you need to. Thank you, Tanya.
Doing compressions, and I was like, this isn't how our story can end.
Welcome to the BODi Experience, where we share simple hacks, like real hacks that people use to lose weight, get in shape, and feel great. And you're going to wish that you knew some of these things sooner, like how to navigate real life.
And Tanya, it is like the death of a parent. And so like just letting you know that she does talk about that a little bit. Maybe I should have put that in the title, like death of a family member.
The real changing of the seasons and your own personal seasons, and still stay on track, get results, and feel good. We're all coming up on summer when you want to feel good in your own skin. And for many of us, I know for me, I actually like to have a personal project, something new that I'm going to try and focus on for my health for the summer. Like I always make one project, a program that I'm going to do. And I focus on that for these months that, schedules get weird, the kids are out of school and all that. So, you heard of hot girl summer. Well, I know I'm never going to qualify for that. So we're calling it feel good summer because I want to feel good. Anyway, we got a guest on the BODi Experience.
You're welcome, Tanya. No worries. And I'll talk to you. We'll see you next time. Okay. And hi, Tori. I'm still at work and fuming. Are you fuming because it's so late? I'm sorry. Oh, that sucks. And isn't it interesting how he wants us to feel good about ourselves in the summer? And it's not just, you look awesome, wear whatever bathing suit you want, have fun at the barbecue with your family and your friends. just have fun, relax, enjoy the nice weather. No, you have to want to do Beachbody programs in order to feel good about yourself, because they're all about health, esteem now, which means you have to do the Autumn Calabrese programs and you have to do the nutrition exactly the way that they prescribe it. And he's going to say it's a prescriptive method.
Experience today, who's also going to help us feel good. And she's going to benefit anybody who's busy, who feels like you're trying to do everything, all the right things, but maybe you're just at this point of experience. Kim Fitzpatrick.
I disappeared there. I'm going to keep myself off the camera for now. Yeah, Uncle Carl reminding us that being skinny is everything, for sure. I hate it. I hate it. Because why can't they say be confident in who you are? It's great if you want to lose a little bit of weight, but just do it in a sustainable manner. Talk to your doctor. Do things in a realistic manner that you can do long term. Of course not.
Patrick. Hi, Kim.
Hey, Carl. I'm so excited to be here and have this conversation with you.
It's so great to have you here. Now, I don't want to tell your story. I want you to tell your story.
Okay.
What was going on as you were navigating your early 40s? Well, I will tell one part of your story. You've been a customer since 2005.
Yep.
You've been a partner in our Team BODi network since, would you say 2013?
2015. So just
2015.
So she's been a partner in the Team Beachbody Network since 2015. Her and Jamie Fitzpatrick, they are among the top Beachbody coaches. They have huge downlines. I used to do videos on when Jamie Fitzpatrick would tell us about the like $3 million he would make in Beachbody every single year. They are the top of the top, and so strange. People who are at the top of these companies, they know that their downline is struggling. They know that they have to deceive people and mistreat people in order to find this level of financial success. But I guess the ends justify the means, right? And you phrase it as, instead of deceiving financially vulnerable people, you are someone's just sitting out there revving their motorcycle. I feel like it's in the backyard, like in their backyard, and they're just revving it. Instead of deceiving people for our own financial gain, we are helping people be healthy and live their most fulfilling life.
Years.
Okay. But maybe the last 18 to 24 to 36 months have been a little turbulent for you as you entered your early 40s. So why don't you start us there and tell us where you were, what was going on, and what happened?
Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Carl. Okay, so a couple things. So, it actually started about like 5 years ago for me when things really happened with my family.
Can you hear the fucking revving? He's literally just sitting there in the backyard, revving his motorcycle. I want to see if you guys if it's picking up. I'm going to be quiet. Okay, it's barely picking up. Can you guys hear it? What's the point of that? Don't just sit there in your backyard revving your motorcycle. Sorry, everything's fine.
And we had a kind of what we call a capital T trauma happen. Everyone's great and healed and growing from that. But I suffered as, a first responder and, a mom and someone that I deeply feel. And what I found is that the more that I was trying to heal through past traumas, not just things that had happened for me back in 2019, but also things that had happened for me in my life prior to that. And
I understand in some workplace environments, we do need to share about our past. I'm thinking, say, if you want to be like in the military, I'm sure you have to share about past mental health trauma. I'm sure you have to, because they need to make sure you're at least a little bit mentally stable, right? Or what else? Military or like FBI. Or if you want to be a foster parent or adopt, I'm sure you have to go through some mental health, I don't know, what testing maybe, but in an average workplace environment, you should not have to talk about your traumas in order for you to do your job well. I feel like there's a limited number of career paths where that would be required of you, and it's inappropriate for us to have to use a really real significant traumas that just changed the trajectory of our entire lives to sell products and to also bring people into a pyramid scheme. It's very, very unethical. And the story she's going to tell us, there's two stories. It's incredibly sad. Yeah, it involves the death of a parent and something else incredibly traumatic that I can't believe she went through. But she's using the incredibly horribly traumatic events as a way to bring people into the pyramid scheme, in my opinion. And I'm glad that she's in a good spot mentally. I'm glad her family is healthy and safe, but this shouldn't be a part of our employment. It shouldn't, in my opinion. Okay, you guys cannot hear the motorcycle. That's good. I'm glad. It's bothering me. I'm not sorry, but I'd rather eat real food and be a bit chunky and actually enjoy my life while also keeping my integrity intact. Exactly, Tori. Same. I'd rather eat food I like and feel happy and confident in my body. Exactly.
I went through a season of intense discovery and revelations, and where I needed more rest and more recovery, and I was feeling closer to not feeling as much of myself. I felt like I was competing with wanting to feel really, really good, but I also knew that I wasn't feeling as good as I could, and I didn't exactly know what was going on. I was trying to do all the things that I always did, but if I'm honest with you, I know that there was always times where I would either maybe sabotage myself, or I would let my emotions run wild, or I would let my trauma take hold of where I was, because it just felt better sometimes to numb out. And what I mean by numbing out is I mean by like, overindulging or binge watching TV instead of getting to bed. And that all compounds in your life. I also found that the busier I became,
I'm sure we all have habits that we think aren't the most healthy, right? And there's nothing wrong with occasionally binging some TV instead of sleeping. But if one of those habits or indulgences are kind of taking over your day-to-day life, that's a different story. But if you have habits that you don't like, that you think are negative or toxic for you, that's not going to be fixed through Beachbody. Like, your trauma is not going to be addressed. Your unhealthy, what you perceive as unhealthy habits, your perception of your body, of yourself, of your relationship with food is not going to be helped by Beachbody. It's going to be hurt. You are going to be harmed by Beachbody.
I would forget to eat. I have to set alarms on my phone to make sure that I'm fueling my body properly. And I came to this, I'm in my 40s, I'm entering into my 44th year, and I just can't get back on track with a few good decisions anymore. It takes what felt like weeks to recover from a weekend. And my recovery time was really delayed. And the more that I've leaned into figuring out what I need, that came down to my nutrition, that came down to my recovery, that came down to my movement, and the things that used to work for me didn't anymore.
Now, I have to stop you. We're going to rewind a little bit. Obviously, you need to do what you're comfortable with, but you dropped trauma 4 or 5 times in that little intro.
Yeah.
And I got to ask, can you give me any insight into what you're talking about?
Yeah, totally.
So she's going to go into the trauma of what she said happened in 2019. And I don't know if she's going to talk about the loss of her parent here. I'm not going to react to her trauma, because as I said, I'm really happy she's in a safe place now and her family is healthy and safe. But we will address why we're even bringing it up on what is a business call. Because I don't know if you've ever been in a business call where an employer, an employee, someone above you, below you, is telling you about their really deep, severe trauma. Because try to think of when that would be appropriate. Say you work in a hospital, right? And you are hearing someone who is a past patient of the hospital who overcame severe mental health issues and is now happy and healthy and employed in a job that they really like. That is the only space I think it would be appropriate to share personal details about our trauma with someone in a work setting. Because this is a work call. It's on YouTube, but it's a work call.
For sure. So my life has been so blessed, honestly. And it also has come with heartache and loss and grief. I lost mom when I was 11 months old. She chose to have me instead of aborting her pregnancy. And she was sick with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I was her 3rd little girl. And my parents chose to keep me rather than treatment. And my mom passed 11 months after I was born. And, I felt very conflicted, almost what felt like my entire life, trying to figure out how loved I was, how seen I was. And I spent a lot of my life trying to stay out of trouble, what it felt like for me, and just really trying to figure out who I was. And with that came a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress and a lot of frustration and a lot of, if you were better behaved, you'd be easier to love. And a lot of stuff came with that you don't just leave in your childhood. You don't just leave that enoughness when you're told that you're not. And I think a lot of that came into how I treated myself and how I loved myself. And I had to reparent myself, Carl. Like when I became a mom, and it's so cool to watch some of the videos back where Tess was like little doing workouts with me from the beginning. Like it makes
That's your daughter?
Yeah, that's our daughter Tessa and Colby. Like when Colby was born, we were doing P90X in our basement. Like I've grown up with BODi, I've grown up, and so have they. And this has been something that helped me to reparent myself, where I knew, hey, you not taking care of yourself isn't a priority. Isn't an option now. It's a priority. You are now a parent, and the struggles you've had and what you've come, and you tell these stories to yourself, Carl, of why it's okay that you treat yourself this way. And at some point we have to, what's our dialogue, right? We are only as strong as our strongest thought. And I didn't want to be a victim anymore.
It's easy to.
So there's a lot to unpack there. She went through the loss of her parent when she was a baby and had a lot of, my connection is terrible, had a lot of anxiety that came from that, of course. And that is very sad, very traumatic. And she obviously, of course, that's impacting her as an adult now, as a trauma does. And I don't like the insinuation that she is where she is today and she has healed from her trauma because of Beachbody. I feel like we need to be responsible when we're sharing things like this, because like what someone with trauma should be seeking out is a mental health professional. And I know that's easier said than done. Of course, it's not accessible everywhere, but I don't know. I don't like the insinuation that Beachbody can help address our trauma, because it can take you your whole life to fully address trauma. That's why there are mental health professionals who are certified or have specialties in trauma, because it is so complex. As a 41-year-old woman myself, it's not reasonable to not expect or to be able to bounce back from certain things than I did when I was 25 or 30. Yeah, good point. I didn't even pick up on that. Of course, when you're 42, 44, you're not going to have the same amount of energy as you do when you're 25. And instead of saying, yeah, I'm older now, my body's a little bit different, let me just adapt. It's, in my opinion, it's seen as like a shortcoming of us that we don't have the same energy as we did 20 years ago, and something that needs to be fixed instead of something that is like natural that can be alleviated, I guess, but it's not going to be fixed automatically. I don't know. That was not said well. Yeah, exercise helps your mental health, but does not replace therapy. Exactly. And that kind of like the opinion that Beachbody can help address trauma is really dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Beachbody is not a counseling service and shouldn't be used for one, in my honest opinion. Exactly.
Just say, oh, so I was doing P90X, and you're a smart person, and you and Jamie have done well for yourselves. So you can afford to go to a gym or get a trainer. So I don't want to just run over that. Why was this model valuable to you, and how did it manage to work into your life, particularly in a life that you're still healing from stuff?
I love that question. Okay, Carl, I've always been a VHS girl. So like I was the mom with friends where we'd go through Walmart and we'd go get Jillian Michaels DVDs together, and then we'd text each other when we were done, even if it took us like as long as it took us to get our workouts done. And that's when I really got into, even though I've been a client since 2005, Colby was born in 2009, I came back home to that. Right. So I just kind of kept reinventing myself. And so for me, it was like, oh, cool. What's this? Right. What's this next thing? And I fell so in love with it. For me, Colby, I wasn't able to just go to the gym because I was in the spin class, and 8 minutes in, I'd be hearing, where's Colby's mom? Because he'd be in the daycare and he just didn't settle. So it wasn't an option for me to go have this relaxing, leisurely time. I spent a lot of my postpartum time, if I wanted to get some movement in, holding my baby, putting them down, playing with them. And it took maybe an hour and a half to get my workout done, but I could do that at home. And I at least felt somewhat of success, where I could pause it and tend to their needs, pause it, tend to their needs, pause it, tend to their needs. And that's not for everybody, but it was for me. Especially after I couldn't even get through a spin class without being called, that just feels defeating.
I'm going to just keep myself off the camera for a bit because my connection's really annoying. I understand that if you don't, there's like weird noises happening. I understand if you don't have a daycare or babysitter at your gym, it can be really hard if you're taking care of your child at that moment and you want to get a workout in. And I see the appeal of working out from home. However, Beachbody is not the only avenue for you to do that. There is YouTube. there are cheaper options that you can do to have the convenience of working out from home, so you can also keep an eye on your kids. And they make it seem like the idea of at-home fitness is just so unique and innovative, and it's not. They did not invent it. You could buy old school like cardio aerobics DVDs and have the same result. But they don't understand that not everyone would want Beachbody workouts. That not everyone reacts well to a really structured program. They don't see that. Hi, Lori. No worries. Lovely to see you. So I think you already missed one of the trigger warnings, but there's another trigger warning about like a really traumatic thing that happened to Kim Fitzpatrick, where it's like an almost loss of a family member. So if you don't want to hear that, I would definitely skip this video. And there is lots of talk about dieting, of course. So just for your awareness.
I was like, well, I might as well just leave.
I'm sure it's not for everybody, but it's for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, anybody who's busy, and I don't know anybody who's not busy, quite honestly, but just the drive time.
I don't know anyone who's not busy, in my opinion. Okay, sure, some people could theoretically have more on their plate than other people, but it doesn't mean that everyone has the same capacity to be able to handle stress and busyness than everyone else does. Something that isn't busy and stressful for Kim could be busy and stressful for me. So I hate that argument. Tori said, also, side note, in my very uneducated opinion, based on my biased, very uneducated opinion. Oh, I'm confused, Tori. What do you mean?
To the gym is my gym time. So unless I can work out while I'm driving, it's not going to be effective. Now, you
can also turn on YouTube, lift some dumbbells, walk on a treadmill. If it's nice weather, walk outside. You don't need Beachbody.
You're a part of the ecosystem for 7-8 years, and then this opportunity comes along. What made you decide to sort of professionalize this and make it something that could actually also generate an income?
That's a great question. So Carl, I want to tell you, at the end of the DVDs and the VHS, there are all these people that used to huddle together with their lanyards on. And I guess that was Summit. And I had no idea what these videos were at the end. If I'm honest with you, Carl, I didn't know what the network was. I didn't understand there was a business that was an opportunity to this. I do remember I've been a devoted client of I love it. I will always use their products. I have had Shakeology for as long as it's in Canada. And I remember, Carl, one time getting a letter from, I guess would have been my coach. And I had no idea that I got a coach that came with this. So if I'm honest with you, when I started Beachbody, I didn't really pay attention to that. But I did see these people very happy at the end of these videos. And I was like, what is that? What's going on? And maybe I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the interest. I just wasn't paying attention. And it was actually Jamie that found out that there was a business opportunity linked to BODi. And I'm so thankful. He was the entrepreneur, Carl. And I was like, well, I'm working in my corporate world. I don't have any more time for this. But if you want to go ahead and do this, because Carl, to be honest, we were living paycheck to paycheck. We weren't getting out of debt. I thought everything was fine and we would be amazing. And then all of a sudden, everything we had and built was taken away from us. We went down to a 1-car garage. Everything was in my name. Like, it was a really scary time. And, so for me, stability.
Of course. So now this is a story to show how relatable Kim is. She didn't even know that the network existed. She had no desire to be an entrepreneur. She loved her corporate life, but then their financial standing, financial security randomly plummeted, and shock horror, they went down to a 1-car garage. And look at her. She didn't even know the network existed. She was not financially stable. And now she is one of the top Beachbody coaches, making like $1 million a year. So if Kim can do it, if Kim can overcome all of the trauma and all of the financial instability, then you can too. And I hate that. Oh, I did it, so that means you can do it too. Exactly. Just go on a walk. If your doctor says you're ready to, go on a walk. Stretch a little bit, but listen to your doctor. Ask your doctor for advice. Do not seek advice from unqualified Beachbody coaches. There's a lot of talk recently about a study which shows body changes at ages 44-ish and 60-ish. So no surprise there. Yeah, bodies change. Exactly. Oh my God, down to a 1-car garage. Let me get out my tiny violin. Right. those of us without a garage weep for you. And a garage is not like a symbol of you making it. We're fine without garages, Kim.
And being an employee, like that's all I knew. All I've
Okay, Tori says, in my opinion, in my own personal experience, it's 110% okay to not be okay. And it's equally okay to seek help from a professional that deals with mental and emotional health. Exactly. Exactly. It's totally fine to have challenges that you go through. But my issue is not her talking about her trauma. My issue is that I know that trauma and stressful experiences, mental health is used as a way to manipulate people to join the MLM. That's my only issue.
known as being an employee, and I loved it. I loved my corporate job. I loved my career. So for me, when this first started, I was excited that that was something Jamie could take a hold of, because if I'm honest, I felt scared because I didn't know how to be an entrepreneur. I've been an employee, so to speak, in the very best way since I was 13, working multiple jobs. I've never had to go do my own thing. So when Jamie found this idea, I was excited. I was like, this is great. This is what my husband's doing, because that felt safer. Right. That felt safer to me. And it was exciting. Carl, I'll never forget. This makes me emotional. I'll never forget when he got his first paycheck. And it was $153. And we didn't have to put going out for dinner with our family on the credit card. And I was like, oh, like this is a real thing. Like you're helping people and this is helping our family. And it felt like a breath. You know, it felt like a breath for the first time in a long time when you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're just asking, is this it? Like, is this how we're going to keep living out this life? And having that little bit of breath in the weekly paycheck helped. And I'll never forget that. And what
Sure, it was a $158 paycheck. My bangs are bothering me. It was a $158 paycheck, but that's not profit because he would have had to buy his Shakeology and he would have had to spend his $50.99 on the business fee. And of course, again, this makes her seem so relatable that a $158 paycheck was enough to make her cry because she had humble beginnings just like you. And there is no acknowledgement of the privilege that she had being in the business a lot earlier than other people, being her spouse had a big history of entrepreneurship, so he already had a leg up being independent from a traditional boss, even though I guess Carl is technically their boss. They had a lot of privileges. But there's never any acknowledgement of those privileges.
What got me into this, Carl, what brought me into this business wasn't the income. It was the community. And it was everything I didn't know I needed. So Jamie started the business out of need for his family. And because we knew that we couldn't keep going. We wouldn't have been able to save and figure this out. Sure, maybe down the road we would have, but we needed something else, which resulted in either one of us getting part-time jobs. And this beautifully came into our laps and into our lives because it's been something we've been doing. We loved the programs. We loved the community. We loved the products. Now, what I was missing was accountability. And what I was missing was understanding, and I'll never forget, my program that I signed up with was seeing Autumn on an infomercial with those containers. And nutrition was my biggest, I would say, opportunity, because I was a habit of missing meals or stress, like, just like I shared, I didn't take good enough care about myself. But most importantly, I wasn't educating myself on how I needed to fuel my body. So I started to fuel my body and I signed up with this program and I loved it. I learned the ins and outs of how to balance my macronutrients without counting all these things, but having these colored containers. And I started to notice that I was like answering questions for people in our little chat we had. And, our friends and my siblings came in and we were all getting literally healthier together. And I was like, this is fun. Like, sign me up for this.
Of course, she didn't join for the money. She joined for the community and she didn't even know she needed it. And it's just so life-changing. And there's also not an acknowledgement that that container system could be really toxic for a lot of people. I personally have very extreme obsessive tendencies. And if I was told to put my food into color-coded containers, I would last about a day and then I would have like a breakdown. I would last 2 seconds. That approach for me would not work. And I know that about myself. And I feel like if I were to say something like that to my Beachbody upline, there would not be any respect given to me for knowing my own boundaries and sticking to it. And what am I trying to say? Advocating for myself. No, there'd be shame. Well, you need to do this because everyone's doing it. And you're not serious about your business if you don't put your food into tiny containers and make yourself have a mental breakdown.
That affect your ability to stay consistent with the whole thing. Like, it sounds like you've prioritized exercise and nutrition through your own trial and error. Did you have any problems staying consistent, or has it always been sort of natural for you?
No, it's never been natural. I was the on again, off again. Like I would be like, I'm starting on Monday. I would eat everything in the pantry on Sunday night. It was not a cycle that I'm proud to share, but it was my truth. And it felt like this yo-yo. It was an identity. It was part of an identity. I thought that like that was just the way it was. And on again, off again, on again, off again. And what this brought to me was consistency. This brought to me the fact that I wasn't just being accountable to myself, but I was being accountable to other people. So in fact, when I started being a partner and coaching back then, I actually got accountable because I had no one to be accountable before when I was by myself. I mean, try being accountable to insanity. Those were awful. I was like, I don't have to do sweat intervals today. I'm fine. Right. But if you're taking a sweaty selfie and you're connecting it with a group, you're not missing the programs because they're hard.
Let's put that in perspective, because I know
very valid to have cycles and to want to change your relationship with food, but you struggle with it because it's really, really hard to break habits. But Kim, that's why dietitians exist. That's why doctors exist. That's why therapists who have a background in helping people with unhealthy eating patterns, that's why they exist, because it's a really challenging cycle to break. It's something that requires really deep inner reflection that is supported by a professional in some way. And I don't like the insinuation that Beachbody completely fixed her relationship with food, when we've seen time and time again, like Anastasia just said, people across YouTube have said those containers were extremely toxic for them. And I just don't like this, because if you're experiencing trauma, if you experience trauma that's impacting your day-to-day life, that you feel like you haven't explored enough, if you're experiencing challenges with your relationship with food, Carl, Beachbody is going to worsen that. They have nothing new to offer, only tiny food group containers for a long time. They're just recycling old news. Yes, Lori, exactly.
No story is a straight line. So you found some income, you find some accountability, get things on track, got community, and then a few years ago, the unthinkable. Mm-hmm. Tell us that story.
Yeah. So I was actually,
now she's going to talk about the experience of almost losing her spouse.
Sitting right in this space, Carl, and our daughter came down, and I heard the door creaking, and she said, "Mommy, Daddy's on the floor." And I was like, "Oh." I was doing a call. So I was like, "Is he joking?" Thinking he's joking, right? And I said, "Mommy, no, something's wrong. You got to come right now." And he had been having issues with his heart and having issues for about 4 months. And he was cleared 4 weeks prior to what I found. He was cleared completely. He was good. Everything was great. He was go for it. And this is one of the other layers of trauma that I was referring to earlier in the podcast, is that my husband, Jamie, he suffered a cardiac arrest, a widowmaker at our home, and Tessa found him, and she came and got me. I was here. I ran upstairs and I gave 8 minutes of CPR while waiting for the paramedics to come and get support. And, he survived, and he's here, and he's healed. And it is an absolute miracle. They literally saved him in this home. And, Tessie's doing great, and Colby's doing great. And they've recovered well because Jamie's recovered well. But that's something where, I'll never forget Carl doing compressions. And I was like, pleading with God. I was like, I'll never talk badly about myself again. I'll stop. Like you negotiate everything. You just lay it on the line, and you're like, everything you think you've ever had, it was just Jamie and I, and every pump for pump, I was just negotiating. I was like, this isn't how our story can end. So the only way for this to go is for a miracle, and for God's work, and for someone else to take over this. And I did. I went on a story and said, "I just please pray, just pray." And I didn't say anything else of what was happening. I just said, "You just need to pray." And I'll never forget that. And, one of my girlfriends, she said, we stormed the gates, and that felt so powerful. And, Carl, it was this community, that just stopped and prayed and said, what can I do? What can we help? How can we get there? People showed up at the hospital. Like, it was just an overwhelming amount of prayer or thoughts or emotion or something. And it helped. Like, everyone, including yourself, was like, where are you at? What do you need? And how can we help you? And to me, that's family.
Again, that'll rock your world.
And that is incredibly horrible. And my connection sucks. Can you guys even hear me? Because whenever I have a little one line, it's like shitty connection, but I want to keep my face on. I do. Okay, she went through something unthinkable. I'm so happy she's in a better place. I'm so happy her child is recovering from finding her dad like that, and that Jamie is healthy. I'm happy for that. I just don't like the context of which this is being shared in. She went through something horrible. Her family was traumatized, and she's talking about how the Beachbody community lifted her up. And it's as a way to encourage people to think about the community aspect, encourage people to think about, oh, well, if this happened to my family, would I have countless people showing up at the hospital asking me how they can help? And then people who might not have that many genuine human connections may think that Beachbody is the answer for them. And again, in an average workplace environment, we should not be sharing such traumatic events. Traumatic events and sales should have no connection, in my opinion. Hello, like the stream. Thank you. Got here so I'm late, but catching up now. Good. Happy to see you here. Okay, good. Because I know whenever I have one little line that's like a really shitty connection, but I hope overall you guys can hear the majority of what I'm saying. And I want to keep my face on because I feel like my hair looks nice today, but I can keep it off if needed.
And everything that is a good habit and life, business as usual, as they say, just gets rocked. And, it was like your own mini pandemic, if you will. And so you go through that, you go through the pandemic, and you found yourself, 43 or 42, and things weren't feeling right.
Yeah.
Where were you at?
Well, it's interesting. So I was finishing a course, and it was July of 2023. I certainly did everything that I could, but I wouldn't say that I really had the autonomy with my own self where I knew that if something was injuring my body, like it was.
Thank you, Anastasia. I appreciate that.
Was hurting me to eat some things I was eating. And, I was so grateful because right when I came back from that course in San Francisco, and I kind of drew my line in the sand for the 78th time, because like you said, it's not linear. As a world, we've gone through stuff, right? There's been a pandemic. Nobody's immune to hard ever. And I just was like, okay, that's it. If I
Nobody's immune to hard ever. Nothing bad about saying that, but I think that's a way to delegitimize the experiences that other people may be having, right? And I didn't think of this. I think the motivation behind sharing such traumatic events in the MLM context could be, look at the horrible things I went through. I still persevered through the help of our community. I still push forward. Look where I am now. No one's immune to hard, right? True, no one's immune to hard, but people can handle hard in different ways. What's hard and traumatic for me might just be an any old Tuesday for somebody else, but there's no acknowledgement that people have different capacities. People are able to handle things different. People handle things differently. And it's always the assumption that, oh, you're not handling it the way I would handle the situation. So therefore, what you're saying is invalid. And you need to just focus on your work, on your business.
Really want to be this next version of myself. If I really want to grow into wherever I'm going to take this big life and this career and how I want to coach and how I want to show up and how I want to serve, well, then I need to keep the promises to myself all the time. And last July in 2023,
it's not realistic to always keep your promises to yourself because life happens. What if you don't sleep? What if you don't sleep for a night? You have horrible insomnia, or your kid's sick, or you get your period. Sometimes you can't keep every promise to yourself, and that's okay. Exactly. Isn't it interesting how so many people in Beachbody, even though they're following such apparently healthy regimes, healthy habits, but yet they all have hormone issues, they all have gut health issues. If Beachbody is the answer, why are all their coaches struggling health-wise, right?
Asked to be a part of the, we used gut protocol, and it was the 4 weeks for everybody super block. And it absolutely helped me so much. Autumn's my girl. And those have been, I love absolutely all of the super trainers, but for me, that is what I needed in that moment. And it was really serendipitous because when I first took this like kind of oath, if you will, or this pact to really, work on myself, that was back in 2015. And that's when I went all in, and I got to come back home to that. And I started to see changes, and I started to feel better. And I just realized that I just got out of the habit of doing the things that worked really well for me. And I was like, how human of me. right? You can't be perfect all the time. You're not just going to have this perfect thing. But as I came back home to really identifying the nutrition that served me and making sure that I was fueling my body well.
How human of me. You're never just going to be completely perfect, but that kind of attitude does not translate into how Kim and other top high-level Beachbody coaches treat their teams. Oh, how human. You can't be perfect. But then if someone is not running their business in the exact way you want them to and is not getting the results that you want them to, then you are going to shame them, in my opinion. So why the way that we talk to ourselves as high-level coaches, why can't that translate to the way we talk to our downlines?
And the movements that served me. And I noticed that I needed more. I can't wait for BODi Lava that's coming out this year. Like what I noticed is I needed more restorative and nervous system and like really leaning into me. I love weights, but I love pull up.
Okay, this is a tangent. I want to go back to where is it? Okay, maybe it doesn't matter. I cannot do lunges. I can't do things where my foot is like bent like that. I can't do that anymore because of my horrendous foot injury, right? And it's great that Kim is so excited for BODi Lava, but that does not mean that BODi Lava is going to have the same impact on me or on Susie down the street than that Kim thinks it's going to have on her. Beachbody is not or exercise is not a one size fits all approach. It is not the answer. It is not the answer for everybody. Lots of people can't do those exercises, and it is okay. It's okay. We're all different and we're all unique in our own ways. Yes, I cannot do lunges or squats. I wish I could, actually. Yeah, I can do squats. But before I started doing the back squats, for months and months with my trainer, we did incline squats on a little board, and I held a kettlebell like up to my chest, and I just did that for like 5 months before he even let me like have the bar on my back for back squats, because I told him I had a foot injury, because he knew that I had to work up to it. Okay, goodbye, Mr. Angel. Thank you so much for joining. Have a good night. But when you're working with a professional and you're like, hey, I had this kind of break in my foot, I struggle with these kinds of movements, then he's able to adapt it, which is great. All of the programs are life-changing, exactly. Even the ones that I can't do. I can't argue with the fact that late 2019 through early 2022 was the longest and hardest 20 years of everyone's lives, though. Exactly. True, it sure was. That's funny. Longest 20 years.
Of low impact, and I love steady state. And what I'm loving, and this is the thing that the platform has grown, what I always say, it's grown with me.
Just because something's low impact doesn't mean that everyone can do it, though. Because lunges are hard. Jumping lunges. No way. I'm never doing any of those ever again. I used to be able to do those. When you'd like go like that with your feet. I don't know if it's jumping lunges, whatever. But then you'd like lunge down. I used to be really good at that, but I refuse to do them now. Recently, my trainer was like, here, take these 2 little 10-pound dumbbells and do squats or do lunges, right? And I told him no, because there's been times when I have been able to do lunges and then my foot hurts and then I don't do it anymore, right? And I was like, no, my foot hurts today. We're not doing that, you know? So I will do lunges in like a very, very limited time. Like if I feel like my foot can handle the lunges, then I'll do a few lunges. Like theoretically I can, but I just don't do them often because I'm scared. But in Beachbody, Autumn would say, well, lunges are low impact, so just do them. You're fine. It's like, no, I'm not. And BODi Lava is probably every day or like 4 or 5 days a week. There's no way I'm doing that. No.
The mindset, like the growth day, I needed all of that, you know, and it's really helped me. It's healed me. And that's when I made a decision. Honestly, Carl, I would say that's when my
growth day has healed you. Growth day has healed your relationship with food and your childhood trauma and your very recent trauma where you thought you almost lost, you thought you were going to lose your spouse. Really, growth day, personal development, Beachbody has healed you from all of that. That is a very dangerous narrative. Very dangerous.
I would say if you think of transformation, I feel like I've been in this evolution of transformation. I've been almost with this company like for 20 years. That's amazing. And I just love to give myself permission that you're allowed to evolve as many times as you need and have as many iterations. But I'm most proud of who I've become. And since last year.
It's so impressive, but it's fascinating to me. I just want to double click into the 4 weeks for everybody, 4-week protocol experience, because, okay, so if that's last year, that's basically 10-ish years into your journey with us. You know everything, the container program, and yet here's a catalyst for you to bring it back. And in 4 weeks. And what always is amazing to me is it's not like it's a mystery. It's not like it's a mystery like, oh, I need to dial this in for 4 weeks to get myself back on the rails. Like, I experienced this too. This is why I said at the beginning, like, I always make myself have a project for the summer so that I don't just let it go and I get to the end of the summer and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in worse shape than I started the summer because I didn't really organize myself. What?
Okay, I'm saying this. I'm not assuming that everyone can do this. Not that everyone can have this relationship with food, but why can't it be like, eat everything, eat things in moderation, try to have a balanced meal, balanced diet. Eat some veggies if you can. If you like fruit, eat some fruit. Try not to have junk food all the time. Treat yourself once a week. Don't do it every day, right? Like, why can't we just have some basic guidelines to keep us on the generally relatively healthy eating path and have it be that, right? Of course, if a health professional tells us we need to do other things, then that does not apply. But why can't they just say, eat in a way that's sustainable for you, listen to your hunger cues, talk to your doctor if you have deeper questions, if you have concerns. Why does it need to be this big complicated thing where we're shoving vegetables into a little container and we have to count everything out, right? Nutrition, eating healthy food can look different for everybody. Exactly, Tori. I completely agree with you. Our back alley where we park our cars, it's under construction recently this week and maybe next week too, so we can't park our cars right there, and so we have to park down the street. And then we had our groceries, right? So I had a big tray of food, and my husband had our drinks in my backpack, and we're walking like a city block up, and then we had to turn to get to the house. And I was just walking with some food, and it was so hard. I was so tired, and I'm relatively fit, right? Exercise does not need to be a big, complex fitness program from Beachbody. If you're able to, it could be walking, it could be doing household chores, it could be moving your body in a way that you like and that works for you. But of course, you can't do things that are simple, because then we're not paying Carl if we're just doing simple, sustainable things. Exactly. Laundry can definitely be a workout for sure.
Describe, because a lot of people don't really know what the business model that we run is. You think, I'll get the subscriptions just like joining the gym and I'll figure it out, right? But this is prescriptive, and it's got a day one and it's got a final day, whatever it's 21 days, 4 weeks, 60 days, whatever. Describe how that can transform your life in 4 weeks, because I think that's a big deal for somebody who's already been around for 10 years.
Yeah. Well,
not everyone wants a program. Like, I do intense workouts at the gym with my trainer 2 days a week now. When I'm not training with him, I do a random video on YouTube. And then another day, if I'm completely exhausted, which sometimes I skip this, I'll go on like a half-hour bike ride around my neighborhood during my lunch break, which is great. I love it. I think it's a great routine. And then sometimes my husband and I, if the weather's nice, we'll go on a bike ride on the weekend. So when that happens, I skip my other bike ride during the week, right? And so usually I will exercise like 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes if I'm extra tired, it will be 3. If I'm not feeling well or I'm super busy, 1 or 2 if I can, right? Why does it have to be this big, long, complicated program? Why can't it be just move your body when you have time, listen to your body, talk to your doctor if you have concerns? If you feel like they have all the answers, you don't feel as bad about sending them so much money. Exactly.
It was a decision, right? I just recommitted to the decision. And I just kept making these decisions that built me closer to the version of me and how I wanted to feel. I'm just proud I didn't I hit rock bottom in November of 2022. And I felt like I spent kind of the first 7 months of 2023 just like figuring out who I was and surviving, if you will. And then I made a decision to thrive. So if I'm honest with you, it really took me just almost what felt like a week to start feeling better. And I felt like, I felt like crap.
It's okay.
And a week later, I'm like, I feel so much better. My energy's better. My sleep is better. I don't feel as uncomfortable. At no point did I feel like I was being restricted or that this was feeling hard. It was like, what a gift I get to figure out what feeling my best feels like and how I.
So after a week of 4-week gut protocol, your sleep was better. Lots of people have insomnia, and that could come from trauma. That can be like a side effect of medication. That can be a side effect or a symptom of a health issue. Sometimes insomnia needs to be addressed by a professional or a therapist. Like my sleep vastly improved after talking through my issues with a therapist. Before, my insomnia was horrendous. Now, I rarely have issues. Rarely. I think generally I'm a reasonably decent sleeper. Yeah, everything can be resolved in a week. Again, that is a really dangerous narrative to push. I remember when 4-week gut protocol was released, I saw someone say that after doing the program once, their cycle was less severe. Their cycle. And so many people have horrendous menstrual cycles, horrendous periods, and it's debilitating for so many people. And for you to say, this thing fixed my periods is extremely dangerous. Not everyone can afford to go to the gym, Carl. The gym membership might be fairly affordable, but gas is still fucking expensive. So actually being able to afford to get to the gym could easily be an issue. Exactly. Yeah, body solves everything. Trauma, insomnia, hormonal issues, gut issues, everything.
I can do that through this modality is a gift. And it's so neat to be able to change over the last 20 years, 10 years as a business partner.
I think people, outsiders don't, it's really fascinating. And even insiders, CEO included, you sometimes take for granted what this business model is like. So I did.
This business model is you recruit people to recruit people to recruit people and maybe sell a product or two. That's the business model. What are you talking about? I'll actually let it play for longer than like 20 seconds. I promise.
Hour 90. I did P90X. I did 21-day fix. I did 21-day fix extreme. So how can I continue to learn or continue to find ways to sort of recover within this ecosystem when I know better now? But I think what the people who sort of judge, they don't give us the benefit of we're human too. And life changes constantly. So you're learning constantly. And even a 4-week program can come along and remind you of what it takes to get results and what it takes to have a discipline and change your discipline slightly. Now, so I wonder, as a partner, you both experience the product as a user, but you also see what works and what doesn't work for people. Why do you think this approach of a program with a particular beginning and an end, why do you think that works for people in such a powerful way?
Well, I think it gives us a time.
I had something to say. Outsiders are not judging Beachbody because people don't always complete their workouts, or in my opinion, this is my opinion, or the nutrition of the coaches isn't always perfect. In my opinion, people judge Beachbody because of the predatory business model and because of the extremely toxic approach to exercise and food, and the assumption that one method works for everyone. And if you're not seeing the results that you want, it's because of some kind of shortcoming within you. And obviously you are not trying hard enough. That's why I judge Beachbody. And isn't it interesting, his language around this? Like, oh, the outsiders. Very us versus them language. Anyone who doesn't agree with the Beachbody model with MLM, they're outsiders and they're bad.
Time to get excited. One of the things I love to do within my client group is we have focuses every month. So I get really attached to themes and things that, like you said, a project, right? Because we lose interests as humans, right? If it just becomes this, this is just what I do every day, it almost becomes very mundane. Now, one of the things I would say that I really try to teach, and I've really embodied, learned this from Andy Frisella, is how to master the mundane. And when you can learn how to master the mundane, you start to realize that the mundane, right, which is fueling your body intentionally and moving your body intentionally, and doesn't mean you need to do the same thing every time or every day, but it's like starting to master the mundane are actually those high performance habits that are going to yield you the life you're wanting to create. But if we keep giving up on that and we keep not focusing on that, that is where I think we can go a little bit awry, where we just feel like we're failing. But what if you don't look at this as failing? What if you think of this as human? Hey, you're not on a wagon, so you can't fall off track. You just start doing it again. It's like, it's all data. We don't do that anymore. The shame that comes around, Carl, this thinking of the failure. What I love about the 30 days is kind of like these little surges of, okay. And it's not necessarily a thing like I'm
moving your body intentionally. Why? So you're telling us to move our body intentionally. Why can't we go for walks? Why can't we play in the backyard with our kids and run around and chase them, or play soccer with them, or go on hikes with our spouse? Why is moving intentionally automatically equals beach body? That's interesting. And also, she doesn't understand why people feel like they fail if they don't follow Beachbody programs perfectly. That's because Autumn Calabrese screams in our face, telling us we need to follow 4-week gut protocol in the exact way that it was written, or it will not work. The fear of failure, the fear of falling off the wagon is created starts with Carl, and then trickles down to the super trainers, then trickles down to the top coaches like Kim. And I had one other thing to say. And she talks a good game. Oh, be gentle to yourself. It's okay if you're not perfect. But we know if you don't have the same goals, fitness goals, as Autumn Calabrese and Kim Fitzpatrick, we know that those goals are seen as invalid. It's true. If you have a different body type than the ideal Beachbody body type, you don't deserve to be happy in your own skin. You don't deserve to be confident in your body, because you need to want to look just like Kim and just like Autumn.
going all in and I'm white knuckling. What I love to consider of is like, how can I refine me this week? Because if you're refining, it's something you already have inside of you, right? Like you already know how to do the movements. You know how to not snooze your button. You know how to do all that. And again, this comes down to this beautiful refinement. And that's one thing I love about this business is it gives me the opportunity to be a better mom, to be a better parent, to be a better wife, to be a better friend, to learn how to heal through stuff and parent me. I'm still trying to figure out, who Kim 4.4 is, right? And we should be called in levels. But that's what I believe this business gifts you, is an opportunity for you to say, hey, I wasn't as proud of that decision I made last night, eating my peanut butter and chocolate chips in the dark at 11 o'clock with my dog looking at me, but I'm going to move forward tomorrow, because that just doesn't match the identity of who I'm wanting to become.
So not everything needs to match the identity of who we want to become. Sometimes we just want to eat food because it tastes good or we want it. Like sometimes I'll say, okay, am I hungry? No, that's okay. Okay, do I want this thing? And it's like, yeah, if I actually want the thing, I'm going to eat it, but I'm going to eat it in moderation. And I know not everyone can do that. But if you are having issues with eating in moderation and you're noticing something about your eating habits that you think is unhealthy, don't seek out help from Beachbody. Seek out help from a professional. I can't stand the narrative in MLM that the only way to become a better spouse, a better mom, a better friend is through the MLM. She could become a better wife just off the basis of being married for longer and maturing and going through different life experiences. That can happen without Beachbody. I'm a better partner than I was when I first met my spouse, because I've been with him longer. We understand each other's communication patterns. I became a better spouse, a better partner, just through the basis of spending time with him and growing up, maturing, and having different life experiences. And you could be feeling more confident in your ability as a parent because you've been doing it for longer. Has nothing to do with Beachbody. Of course, you could potentially feel more confident as a parent when your kid is 9 versus when your kid is 2, because you've been doing it for longer.
So Kim, it's, I've said this to you before, and we've celebrated you on stage at Summit, you and Jamie, and you've been incredible advocates for what we do, and truly inspirational members of a community and defining members of an ecosystem or a business model that is, I think, poised to make an even more dramatic impact on the world. We've got, 25% of the adult population in North America is considered inactive. 70% of the population is considered overweight or obese. So we clearly have
What are your sources, bro? I need some citations. And are you classifying overweight as the BMI scale? Because according to that, I am also overweight, but I am not. And I have good health markers and I'm not overweight. But according to Carl Deichler's definition of it, I would be. According to Carl Deichler's definition of it, majority of professional athletes would be because they're strong. Muscle weighs a lot. Maybe they weigh 200 pounds at 5'10", but they are a tank. Someone who's a tank is considered obese on the BMI. So don't even talk about that. People, there's the assumption, I feel like, in Beachbody that if you're overweight, if you happen to be obese, then you are automatically just miserable and unhappy and you need Beachbody to completely change your life. We don't need this dichotomy. We don't need the dichotomy of you're either in Beachbody and happy or you're out of Beachbody and you're miserable. There can be something in the middle, sir.
They have a lot of work to do and a lot of people that we can help. To close this out today, what
if you wanted to help, you would have a nonprofit where you are providing free fitness and health resources to families, to individuals who aren't able to access those resources themselves. Nobody enters the MLM industry because they have altruistic desires and they want to help people. Because you, Carl, you know that people in your company are suffering. But then you're sitting here saying, oh, we need to help people. There's an obesity epidemic. No, you know that's bullshit, sir, so stop it.
are you saying to people who maybe feel hopeless, who don't have the attitude or the initiative that you do to seek it out for themselves and they need a catalyst? How are you?
Just because someone isn't looking like Kim Fitzpatrick or Autumn Calabrese does not mean that they don't have the right initiative or the right attitude. That is a very toxic thing to say. I'm going to let it play for longer than 5 seconds now. At least a minute, at least.
Helping them get started on something that just looks too easy and it costs too little to have this big of an impact on your life, yet it works. So how do you get them off the fence and into action?
Well, I love that question, Carl. I think at the end of the day, it's to humanize it again and to remember that everyone needs human connection and that we aren't meant to go at this life alone. I love the saying, we're all walking each other home. And I just always remember it's like, well, if I'm just going to reach out my hand and I'm going to say, we're going to do this together and we're going to figure this out together and you don't have to do this alone. I believe that that's going to help someone say, yeah, that's worth it. The other thing I would say is this, is that someone's meant to live the life that you want. Someone's meant to live the life that you want. So why don't you start living the life that you want and start making those decisions as small and as bite-sized as possible? And I think that's what our platform does, Carl. It's that you don't need to start with it all at once. The mindset and the nutrition and the one thing. It's you pick one thing and you have an army of support that allows you to put your armor down. And that is, I think, the gift of this business. And this
you're putting a group together to start June 3rd?
Yeah.
You have the army to support you putting your armor down. We've heard so many people who've been in Beachbody talk about how it harmed them. Beachbody is not going to improve your relationships, your finances, your exercise, your relationship with food. It will hurt those things. It will hurt those things. If you're having serious issues in fitness or nutrition or with your relationship, because apparently Beachbody can save marriages, please seek out a professional, because the cost of maintaining your Beachbody business every single month with Shakeology, with the other products, with your business fee, you could save that money up and save up for like relationship counseling sessions. If you want a piece of cake, then eat the piece of fucking cake. If it's the entire cake, yeah, then that's a different conversation. Exactly. When a body hun was trying to recruit me, I asked her what makes their workouts different from anyone else. She said I can't wait to hear what you say next, Cats, and it's lovely to see you. Thank you for joining. We're almost done. Oh, she said the community. I said I can get that anywhere else. To that, she said you can't get me. Because yes, I want to work with someone who doesn't have certificates. Oh, I'm glad you stood your ground. Good job.
Absolutely. I'm excited. Right. I do them every month, Carl. I like mid-months. I'm a mid-month girl. I like starting at the mid-month. I know it's just weird, but it's just how it rolls.
It's okay. It's your thing. You're quite successful, and you're teaching us all how it's done. So I sure do appreciate it. I appreciate your time today, and continue to inspire us and be a leader. The leader that you are is helping us understand how we can be a change agent in the world for something that's not obvious, something that frankly the business world doesn't understand what we do. And I think many people, it's easy to judge what we do until they're part of the ecosystem. They're like, oh, my life is changing and I am in control of these choices, and it's not costing me an arm and a leg. So
I judge you because of your shitty, unethical business model and how predatory Beachbody is. It's not that I don't understand you, it's that you are running a horrifying company. That's why I judge. Thanks, Cats. That's nice.
Appreciate all you do and appreciate you giving me your time here today.
Of course.
That's awesome. Well, anybody listening who's ready to start or you want to help someone else, just like Kim's talking about, you need to take action. This can be your feel-good summer. And if you want to become a partner like Kim,
I had a feel-good summer because I hung out with my spouse, I hung out outside, went on bike rides, we went to movies, we did fun things. And quality time with the people I care about. That's my feel-good summer. Feel-good summer does not need to be dropping the weight, getting buff, right? Like getting all strong and changing the way your body looks. A feel-good summer can be anything we want it to be. Same, Lisa, same. I looked at their quarter to 2024 financials and their revenue went down by 10 million. Good, Cats.
That's the way to both keep yourself accountable because now your lifestyle choices are connected to your income potential. But it's also a great way to keep yourself integrated into the lifestyle, right? When it's a business, you're going to stick with it long term, or certainly more than maybe the yo-yo or roller coaster that you might be on with fitness and nutrition. I know I was until it became my business. And partners like Kim are building groups right now for, what the next month or whenever you want to jump in. So I hope you'll find a partner. Kim's a great one, but just find someone. Pick a program and make it a feel-good summer. No matter what, here's what you need to do right now if you would. Download the BODi app, that's BODi, or go to BODiPreviews.com. Again, that's BODi previews.com. And just in exchange for your email address, we'll give you lifetime access to over 130 workout videos. That's probably over $100 worth of content free at BODiPreviews.com. And then once you sample as many of them as you'd like, then you'll have a sense of the workouts that are best for you. And then you pick the program that is going to align with your goals. And then you go for it. So you can go to BODiPreviews.com, see which program speaks to you. And then when you have a great body experience that you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it. And you can submit your story to @BODiStories on Instagram, and the team will take a look. Also, last thing, if you want to get updates from me, whenever we post a new episode of the Body Experience or we have special offers, I send out a text message. I have my own little private text community. And that's at 818-650-4369. And you
Carl's not sending those texts. Those are automated.
just follow the prompts. I get to know you a little bit, and then I can send you information that's pertinent to you. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks to Kim Fitzpatrick and, of course, her whole family, Jamie, the kids, for helping BODi become what it is, which is a community of incredible people doing incredible things. And thank you for...
Okay, so that's all. Of course, my connection sucks. I'm sorry. I've noticed that body huns aren't listing who they supposedly recruit anymore. I wonder why that is. Yes, I wonder. I'm noticing my connection is not improving, so I'm going to take my face off the screen awkwardly. So what did we learn? We learned that Kim has gone through unthinkable trauma in her life, and we are so happy that she is healthy and in a better space mentally and emotionally, and that her kids and her spouse are in a better place mentally and emotionally. But we also learned that, we relearned that in the MLM context, sharing our trauma is a way to relate to extremely vulnerable people, to make them feel like you understand them, that you relate to them, and that if they join your community, that they will have the exact same experience you had, which apparently is healing trauma, becoming a better spouse, and becoming a better mother, even though we can become better parents and spouses just through the basis of growing up, having new life experiences, and adapting as a person, because I change all the time. I'm not the same all the time. Oh, my shoulders. I just realized my shoulders are weird. We learned that we can have a feel-good summer only by doing Beachbody programs. We can't have a feel-good summer by just spending time with our loved ones, getting sun, going to the beach. No, we have to want to have the same vision of health and fitness that Carl and Autumn Calabrese has. Yes, we learned that trauma equals sales, which is so horrible. It's so horrible. I'm kind of conflicted because I'm like, I'm so happy that she's okay, but I hate that she's sharing this within this context. You know? That's why I'm like, I'm not commenting on the trauma, but I'm just commenting on the sharing of the trauma in this way. I love that, Kat. I'm glad that you had a feel good summer full of gardening. That's great. So that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed a Beachbody reaction video. It's been a long time. I said this at the beginning of the video. I'm going to try to do Beachbody and Amway videos again because I feel like I've been in a little bit of a rut on my channel. And we'll see if I like doing these kinds of videos again because I used to love them because it used to be all I ever did. Just Beachbody and Amway, and I loved it. So we're going to do that and see how it goes. Thank you so much for being here. I love that there's 10 people here. That's amazing. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you at the next video. Bye.